They are guarding all of our landmarks and our monuments. Again, the Port Authority has closed all of the bridges, all of the tunnels. They have closed all 3 airports. We now have word, however, that the outbound George Washington Bridge is open. All others are closed. Again,
today we've had a national tragedy.
Uh-oh, is that President Bush speaking?
Yeah, we're now hearing President Bush.
Let's go to him. If we can even get audio, there he is.
Terrorist attack on our country. I have spoken to the Vice President, to the Governor of New York, to the Director of the FBI, and have ordered that the full resources of the federal government go to help the victims and their families, and to conduct a full-scale investigation to hunt down and to find those folks who committed this act. Terrorism against our nation will not stand. And now, if you join me in a moment of silence. May God bless the victims, their families, and America. Thank you very much.
We've been watching President Bush, who was down in Florida for what was...
Okay, we're coming back. As you just heard, the President speaking about this incident, which he clearly called, or did he?
He seemed to imply that, in fact, it was what looks to be a terrorist act. His remarks very brief, saying only that he had pledged the full resources of the federal government to go to the victims and of the families as well, and also a concerted federal effort to hunt down those responsible, saying that terrorist acts against the United States will not, under any circumstances, be tolerated.
We're understanding that dozens of injuries, people who are injured, have been sent to St. Vincent's Hospital. St. Vincent's is expecting hundreds of more injuries, 100 people, and you could expect that considering there are 40,000 people who work at the World Trade Center towers. This is an unbelievable thing. President Bush was reading to school kids in Sarasota, Florida, when he took a time out to speak about this incident. As you get, again, as you said, Michael, the Mayor Giuliani, is planning to speak at any time now from Park Place and Church Street, which is not too far from the scene. So as soon as he begins to speak, we'll go down to him. We're sending crews out to the scene as well, waiting on Marcella Palmer to get set up and give us what she knows.
The New York City Fire Department asking now all firefighters to return to duty immediately. The department spokesman saying that the firefighters who are off duty or who are on vacation should still report because of what you're seeing here live at the World Trade Center. The pictures provided by Chopper 2, pictures all across the city that we've been following for you for the last hour. This is a live picture, but moments ago, the second impact, the second plane that struck Tower 2 was captured on tape, and you're looking at it right now. Again, this is videotape happening 18 minutes
apart
after the first impact. You saw it as we saw it as it happened. The first impact happening just before 9 o'clock this morning. The second impact 18 minutes after. And again, you were looking there at videotape of that second impact. 40,000 people working at the trade centers. We have no word at this point just how many were in their offices at the time of the crashes. I can back now live, courtesy of Chopper 2.
Michael, we're just hearing one of our information partners, CNN, is reporting that one of the planes was an American Airlines 767 from Boston, a Boeing 767 from Boston, according to our information partner, CNN. We're not sure which plane that was, if it was the first airplane or the second. Again, looking into the possibility of a hijacking, a possible suicide mission. The FBI on high alert. All bridges, tunnels leading into New York City have been closed.
All three
airports have been closed, all under the command of the Port Authority, which ironically is based at the World Trade Center. Also, the Emergency Command Center that's supposed to be bomb-proof and earthquake-proof is at 7 World Trade Center across the street there. President Bush, as you see on the bottom of your screen, is calling the crashes terrorist attacks, and he is pledging to a full-scale investigation to hunt down and find the people responsible for it. Marcia Kramer, you're in the newsroom. What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you now that New York City is going on high alert. It's going into what you would call its terrorist alert. They've established a no-fly zone over all of Manhattan. The Lincoln-Holland tunnels have been closed. The George Washington Bridge is closed coming into the city. Also, the Queens Midtown Tunnel and the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel are in the process of closing the lanes coming into Manhattan. They are not letting any traffic come into Manhattan. They are trying to get everybody to leave the city. There is a no-fly zone over all of Manhattan, and all of the bridges and tunnels are in the process of being closed. I can also tell you that the first casualty has been brought into Beekman Downtown Hospital. It was a young man in his 20s. He came in with blood gushing out of his arm. The New York City Fire Department has put in a call to all fire department members, firefighters, and others who work in the department to come in even if they are off duty. Again, New York City is going into a high terrorist alert, trying to make sure that there are no further attacks on any of our landmarks, our bridges, or our tunnels. This is a normal procedure that New York City puts in place when they have to deal with something like this. It was a procedure that was developed after the bombing of the World Trade Center, which happened in 1993. I can tell you that witnesses are telling us that they have seen paper and pieces of office material flying through the air, drifting over Brooklyn about 3 miles from the tower. That happened after the first attack. Again, New York City going into a high alert, closing off Manhattan, trying to protect its bridges and tunnels. The UN, the United Nations, has been evacuated. The Stock Exchange has been evacuated. These are two of the landmarks in New York City that police and FBI officials have regarded as potential targets of terrorist attack. Again, we have also learned that FBI offices all across the country have been put on high alert for the possibility that there could be terrorist attacks other places in the country. Again, President Bush said that he called it an apparent terrorist attack, but it will take some time for the FBI, New York City Police Department, and others to determine exactly what happened. Lisa and Michael?
Have you had any contact at all with the governor's office? Because the Associated Press reporting that Governor Pataki in Manhattan today, that's what the office in Albany is apparently telling the Associated Press, although the staff not saying where the governor was at the time. Do we expect to hear from him, and do you know where he is?
Well, I think that President Bush himself said that he had been in contact with Governor Pataki. I wouldn't be surprised to find Governor Pataki showing up at the same press conference with Mayor Giuliani. At this point in time, it seems it would make a lot of sense for the governor and the mayor to deal with this together. We have another report. All of Lower Manhattan's subways have been closed. They are trying to keep people out of Lower Manhattan so that they can clear the streets to evacuate the people who may have been injured or if there are any fatalities. Right now we have no reports on the number of people injured, on the number of people who are trying to be evacuated from other floors in the building. But what they're trying to do is keep as many people as possible out of Lower Manhattan so that you can get the emergency vehicles to the scene. You need fire trucks, you need as many ambulances as possible, and so you're going to need to keep as many people away from the scene as possible. That's all we have for now. Back to Michael and Lisa.
Okay, Marcia, thanks a lot. We were told a few minutes ago that dozens of injured people were at St. Vincent's, and St. Vincent's is one of the hospitals expecting hundreds of more people to be taken to St. Vincent's. Beekman Downtown Hospital, the first casualty, we understand, was a man in his 20s who came in with blood gushing out of his arm, according to what Marcia found out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, no-fly zone over the entire area. The only bridge that's open is an outbound GWB. That's the bridge that's opened. Otherwise, the Lincoln and the Holland going into the city are closed. The Queens Midtown Tunnel, about to be closed, is in the process of being closed. They're trying to keep everybody from coming down into this area and trying to get people out. Stock Exchange closed. The UN evacuated. Stock Exchange evacuated. Debris is still drifting miles from the scene as we look at the effects there of two airplanes crashing into the World Trade Center. The first one from witnesses was a small, according to eyewitnesses, a small plane, apparently, a twin engine possibly, or a boat. And then we had another report that it might have been a 737. And then CNN reporting
that one plane, apparently an American Airlines 767 from Boston. That according to CNN. And another quick reminder that the Jersey State Police saying that all Hudson River bridges and tunnels closed as a precaution. And as Marcia Kramer mentioned, that this is just standard operating procedure in a crisis like this, especially what happened after the bombings in the World Trade Center. And then all of these systems then become implemented. And the mayor, as well as the governor, we expect to hear from shortly. You'd heard earlier from President Bush, who seemed to sound reasonably certain that these were terrorist attacks, though, of course, we haven't the final confirmation saying that they are apparent terrorist attacks. The president pledged